Hello everyone, Alex here, and today we're gonna take a look at each stat in the game because they're a bit confusing, and we're also gonna talk a bit about the difference between physical damage and superpower damage. This says power damage, which means superpower. Here's still, it's my understanding. Here it says clearly superpower damage. So we'll start with the stats because to explain them, we also need to talk a bit about physical superpowers damage split, which is something which comes more into late game. Is becoming more of a big consideration, especially when you try to do a big score on the final league challenge boss. It makes a massive difference. But let's start with the stats and we'll get to there. So you can see here 4 base stats: HP, attack, defense, and speed. So HP, let's press on it. They also have a text accompanying, like character's base attribute that decides how much damage a character can take. This is basically your full health bar that you have, and when the opponent's attacking, they are removing from that. But defense protects a bit against that, so when you attack, usually it's your attack times skill damage, which is 106% of attack to all enemies, and at level 3 it says 200%. So it's that. So attack stat minus the opponent's defense. So let's say a Wonder Woman is attacking LX, has 45,000 defense, so her attack is 300,000, so it would be, it's 45,000 this one, yes. So instead of 300,000, it's minus 45,000, which would be like 255,000 times 160%, 200%. So we go to 500,000, but he has 2 million HP. So it kind of works like that as a base consideration if you only look at those 3 stats, and this is generally speaking a nice baseline to look at them. There are a few other stats that take into account as well, and you have speed, which is basically how fast you're gonna taking turns and having higher speed than someone else means you are gonna do if there's not like a action bar shenanigans happens. For example, the first 2 castings increase progress of the action bar of all allies by 20%, and there's a action bar reduction. So he may add the second of fear, which knocks back the action bar by 30% when added. So you can have some, or just a clearer. I know it sounds a bit confusing, and I haven't even touched like most skills. So I'm gonna try to keep it simple and try to approach it from a few angles to give some explanation, so maybe something sticks. So this knocks back, uses telepathy, superpower damage, knocking them back 25% of the action bar. So there are some abilities that they have the action bar. Basically you have base speed that you would be is a normal turn order that characters would be taking, and they would be taking, like, if you have a lot more speed than the opponents, then it's not just like Pokemon where you just the first one goes with speed, then the second one, and they will always go like this. My understanding is in this game, if you have like 300 speed and the other person has 149, you will take 2 turns before the opponents will take 1. It's not too much the case. There's very small difference between speed. Like the highest you can go is like Kid Flash is a very fast character. He's 243 and I have speed on him, and like he's a slow character. He has 192 and I have some speed on him. So maybe like every 3 turns you get an extra turn on the opponent. Is my understanding again of that. If you don't take into account the action bar stuff happening. And depending on your advanced attack and how much of a cooldown it has, is every 2 turns. So she may start with her advanced attack instead of a basic, so it's a super basic. She does that, then she does the basic, then she does the advanced, and it goes like this. And the advanced attacks are generally speaking very strong. And if you have a strong advanced attack, that might tamper with the opponent in some way. For example, she puts out a silence. Then you may want to have speed, so you do your advanced attack before the opponent does his, and it might make some difference. Even like she does a lot of damage here. If she's faster than Ocean Master's advanced attack, which she is, even without speed, anything you can do with speed, you can't really mess around with that, and unless you have Zatanna with Ocean Master, then he grants block chance and block amount. You would prefer to do damage to the opponents before they have block amount. But let's touch the skills more, like besides like a speed, and speed also affects, like let's so quickly show like a battle or something here. So you start, you see here, let's not. You will be looking at the left side of the screen. So we are starting. We will be getting 3 ability energy. We already have 2, so we need to do 3 basic attacks or super basics. 1 more basic from Nightwing, then we get 3 ability energy. Now we are gonna get 4. So we need to do 5 basics to be able to get 4 ability energy to do our next ultimates. Then we're gonna get 5 for the rest of the match. So, and you can see here, let's throw some characters that mess around with the turn order or whatever, with action bar, so we can explain that a bit. So he gains action bar on spawn, Deathstroke, so you see he goes very fast. Gorilla Growth removes the action bar, so if you see the opponents, we do this, and Kid Flash and the bot were moved a bit back when they will be doing the basic and advanced basics. Let's put Deathstroke ability. You see he will move up in the action bar because his ultimate gives him action bar, so he will lap some characters, and so we will do our basic faster or advanced attack if we have one, but we will also gaining ultimate energy faster than the opponents. Hope that explains speed to some degree. Like it allows you to do your abilities basically faster. And there is a balance a bit to that. Some situations maybe having more attack might make and crit maybe might make you kill the opponents in a one shot them, but having speed, yes, you go faster but you don't kill them and the opponents have more HP. I like speed a lot, but it's not the end all be all. You definitely want to have attacks stat, because if you just had speed and no attack, it wouldn't make any sense. Thus, you are getting a lot of attack stats, like she has on her, this piece gives her 6% attack bonus plus 10 on her signature. This one gives her 10% of the signature and 6% as the last stat. This gives her 25.2, so you're getting a lot of attack, but speed you aren't getting from many places. So I would really like in many situations to have my advanced attack going off more often and doing more ultimates, so I really like speed. So besides attack and defense and HP, let's skip a bit this crit and I'm gonna go back to that. So there's damage amplification, which basically you can think of damage amplification, damage reduction, like having extra defense in some ways. Almost like not necessarily it increases it, but or damage amplification, let's say, will make so damage reduction would remove. Who is the character that has damage reduction? He has. So he has 9.7% damage reduction. So when the opponent's attack is calculated, it is times minus 9.7%. When she's attacking, it goes times plus 9.7%, so they cancel each other out. If you have damage amplification that, for example, you can have from your emblem, from your artifact as the last stat, then she would be having 15% more multiplier on when she's attacking, and when the opponents have damage reduction there, they will have minus 15% multiplier when they get attacked. So attack goes versus defense, attack minus defense, or you can say attack times damage reduction and damage amplification. And if there is a difference and you have more damage amplification than the opponents, then you will be doing more damage. And if the opponents have more damage application, then you will be doing less damage. Then you remove the defense from that, and what's remaining from the attack reduces the opponent's HP. Also, armor piercing directly messes with the opponent's defense. So when you have 300 armor piercing, when it's attack minus defense, the opponent, like for Lex for example, when she's attacking him, instead of 45,300, it will remove the 300 and will have a bit more straight attack going into HP rather than defense. So there is some sense of building, like putting defense here, although it's not such a great stat. It is in every interaction, it reduces the attack that goes straight to removing the HP from the opponents. Just the pieces like this with HP usually have a bigger stat, or HP bonus, which is a very nice stat. It's not defense bonus in any of those, only for like the signature at the end. So if you have a big armor piercing stat, then you are removing some defense from the opponents, and attack is straight removing their HP. Let's talk about crit. So crit is basically just straight crit. Let's start with a character that doesn't have anything on him. He gains from his stats, I think. Okay, so they start with a 5% crit stat, and you have a 5% every time you're attacking in every hit that you're doing, to be doing 50% more damage than the normal attack would do. So let's continue with Wonder Woman. So Wonder Woman would be doing 160 attack or 200 at the level 200. If you don't have any crit damage, you just have crit chance. So crit damage would be 0. It still hits for 50% harder. That's the base crit rate. So she would be doing not 300% damage, not 200, 300. So this would be the number that would then go through defense and go then through HP. If you have extra crit damage, like she has 32.4% here, this would be added to the, instead of 150%, it would be, instead of 50% more, it would be 83.24% times attack when you are attacking. And the crit chance up to 100% makes sense, because every interaction where you are attacking is you have a higher like a random number. Let's say in every attack that it does to 5 people, there is like a a dice that's rolling, and it has 89.2% chance of doing 83.24% more damage on top of the 200. It multiplies this times 83.2%. If the opponents have crit resistance, let's say, does he have crit resistance a lot? He has 12%. So she has her own like 89.2. Then in each interaction, you're removing the 12%, and the remaining is what her chances of doing a crit that has a higher, like 50% base crit damage plus 32.4% on top of that. Wonder Woman specifically, because I've talked with the numbers a lot, but it's actually more. She also has her emblem at level 30. For every 1% of current crit rate increases crit damage by 1%. So she will be having a lot of crit damage. This stops at 80%. So when she's having 80%, we are gonna add 80% on top of the 50 and the 32.4. So massive crit damage difference. She also affects her teammates, where she gives them 20% crit damage if she's with them. So a lot of crit damage happening with Wonder Woman. That the yes, increasing her attack would like have the base multiplier a tiny bit higher, but increases her crit has a higher chance of triggering the crit damage plus up to 80%. It also increases the crit damage for the same amount if you have her emblem. Hope this was explained correctly and it makes sense. If not, you can ask me in the comments and I can try to explain it a bit better. So it's crit minus crit resistance of the opponent in every hit. So this happens 5 times. That's her ultimate to 5 people. Every time it's her crit chance. That's also affected by frantics that Zatanna gives her. So she can go way more than 100%. So even if the opponents have, let's say, 12% crit resistance that Lex is having, she still is guaranteed to crit and multiply her attack times 50 plus 80 plus 32.4. So it's like 162.4% more damage. So 262.4% based on the attack. It's a massive number that does a lot more damage rather than attack every time you crit. So there's always this chance that if you have crit, the opponents don't have crit resistance, or you have a higher, let's say Constantine, for example, that can be more like a random and not guaranteed something. So you have 22% crit. If there is the legs of the opponent when he's using his ultimate, he still has a 10% chance to be doing 83.4% more damage for every hit. If you have this and it activates, it also gives him 3 stacks of frantic, and he has another 30% chance. So then instead of 10, he would be having 40% to crit. If you also have Zatanna with him, you can give him another like 5 stacks of frantic. Then he's basically almost guaranteed to crit, unless opponents have a lot of crit resistance. So we covered those. Reflect. Let's go to a character that has some reflect on their emblem. So he gains like 5.7% reflect here. If you bring this to 25, it will give him another 4% reflect. So basically, reflect, when the opponents hit you, they will be gaining 5.7% of the damage they're dealing to you back. They will losing that HP every time they hit you. Lifesteal does the opposite. So if you have lifesteal on a character, so he has 5.7% lifesteal. If he's hitting someone that doesn't have reflect, he will be healing for 5.7% of the damage he's dealing. And if he's hitting against Penguin, they cancel each other out. They are both 5.7%. No one is healing, no one is taking damage. He's taking damage. Green Arrow's neither healing nor taking damage to himself. Penguin is getting damage. Some artifacts affect that a bit, so this gives you extra reflection by 5 or 10%. So the opponents, when they hit you, they are getting a bit more damage. He doesn't have reflect here though. And some of them are giving lifesteal. For example, this one is giving 5% lifesteal, maybe 10% if it's upgraded. This one the same. So if you have this and you're hitting against someone with this one, 5% reflect, they cancel each other out, and no one is in the Red Hood is neither healing nor taking damage. Next stats. So let's talk about block, which is an interesting, because I also found out today how much the base block amount is, so that's why I was hoping to make this video. It's interesting. So block is, you have a base stat. The base stat, you have this percentage that many gear have on them, that if you, he has a lot more, for example, if you are hit from someone, there is a dice going off that will add to, will have a 58.6% chance of, if you don't have any block amount, if the block amount was 0, so let's go to a character that has 0 block amount. I think it has 0. Yes, it has 60% block chance. So when someone is hitting her, there's a 6% chance at random that on every hit that she gets, it's my understanding, she will be stopping. The base block amount is 20%, but it only works for physical damage. So if Wonder Woman was hitting her, and because Wonder Woman attack is doing physical damage, then when she blocks, when there's a 6% chance that she's gonna get 20% less damage. So in tanks it kinda makes sense to have some block stat on them, but having like a, I think it's better to have guaranteed 9% always higher HP that you will survive more, rather than having like a 15% extra chance of getting 20% less damage when you get hit, but only on physical attacks. That are probably about half. I haven't checked all the characters. Usually, I'm not extremely familiar with this, but I know it's super important. Let's talk about that. So, with the last league challenge, can make a massive difference to your score if you remove Wonder Woman, because where is his kit here? So Steppenwolf has stack far more that reduces physical damage again by 25%. So just starting, Wonder Woman will be dealing 25% less damage. But when he dies 4 times, she will be dealing 50% less damage. When he dies 7 times, she will be dealing 75% more damage, less damage, and when he dies 10 times, he will be dealing 90% less damage. So it's really not effective to throw Wonder Woman in there. It's better to throw a character that just has a superpower damage that he deals, like Constantine, like Sinestro that deals superpower damage. Even a 2 red stars Sinestro, for me, upped my score, replacing him with Wonder Woman and putting Sinestro at 2 stars and Wonder Woman was at 5 and way higher investment in gear and emblem and stuff. And she was doing, and Sinestro that did 50,000 more damage in there. So there are some situations where it makes a lot of sense to look what is happening with physical and superpower damage. There are some a bit less important distinctions. So, for example, with Superman, the new Superman, he gains. It's in the second line. He gains 30% physical damage reduction, and he can get another 15% from his emblem at level 20, so 45% less damage from physical characters, but he will be getting 15% more superpower damage. Other characters that maybe if you find in main stages, you may want to try a different team because of that. He gains 25% or 35% physical damage reduction, and his team synergy when it gets at level 3, he gets at the rank 10. When an ally crit, superpower resistance of all allies increases by 2% every time, or up to maximum 30%. So the opponent will be dealing 30% less superpower damage on you. Another super important stat is here, dampen, is the debuff. So dampen reduces superpower damage resistance by 10%. So maximum of 4 stacks, so it can reduce it up to 40%. So it counters basically what Red Hood is doing, and even dealing 10% more superpower damage. So it's something else that you want to take into account. But when you see block, for example, this is the base chance that if you had 0% block amount, so he has a 6% chance of having every time he gets hit by a physical character to gain 20% less damage. That's the base difference. It's not that superpower damage ignores block. My understanding is it ignores block amount. So why am I saying that? His team synergy for Ocean Master. When an ally blocks, it heals everyone for 1% of their max HP, and when your team blocks a few times, it increases their attack chance. That is still happening when someone that does exclusively superpower damage is going against you. You just aren't stopping the 20% base like block amount. This interaction gets ignored if they are doing superpower damage on you. That's my understanding on how this works. You can correct me in the comments if it's a tiny bit different, but I think that I got it correctly now. And block break is like crit resistance with crit, but having to do with block. So let's say Wonder Woman again as an example. She has 27% block break chance. So when she goes up against Nightwing with 58.6%, she has like a 30%. There is a 30% chance he is gonna block. And let's talk about block amount now. This adds on top of the 20% base block. So because it's physical, Wonder Woman is dealing physical, he will be getting 52.4% less damage when he blocks, and he has a 30% chance of doing that. Now Wonder Woman is getting crits, so she's getting frantics, and even if he has a lot of crit resistance on him, for example, I want to build this last to give him some crit resistance, she may still land crits, but on the opposite side, he's getting many stacks of firm stand that will gives him 4 stacks that will each one increases the chance of blocking by 10%. So he's gonna have another 40% block chance, and Ocean Master will be giving with his advanced attack, if Nightwing is the lowest percentage HP, that he's in a point where he gets hit, but it's also very tanky. It will give them a 50% block chance and 50% block amount. So even though the opponents might have a block break, block is still very extremely likely to go off, because you go way over 100% block chance, and if you have this 50% block amount, it's awesome. You would be taking very little damage. So it's already 50, 2.4% is the block amount for Nightwing, like the 20% the base and the 32.4 that he has from his emblem. So having block gear on someone that has block amount on his emblem makes more sense. Like having crit gear on someone that has crit damage on his emblem also makes sense, because you can take advantage of both interactions and stats better. But then it will be adding another 50% block amount on top of that. That goes to 102.4. I'm not sure I ever saw Nightwing taking negative damage. Maybe I have in some situations a little bit, but against quick opponents. I'm not sure. Maybe there's a chance like it adds a 50% on the remaining. So it times 50% of the 50.4, so it's 75% block amount. I don't think so, but even that's awesome. It might be just that the Nightwing many times is not the lowest HP health, or the opponents are doing like superpower damage, so they're ignoring the block amount. So block team are a lot stronger against characters that are doing physical damage, like the crit team is primarily. So she's doing physical damage, he's doing physical damage, Zatan is doing superpower damage, but she isn't really doing too much damage, and that's why many people are saying that burn can beat block, because I haven't tested that, but burn deals superpower damage, and characters with block, like with burn abilities, this deals superpower damage. He's dealing superpower damage. I don't have the other Superman. But I think I made my point here that a block really stops physical damage to a massive degree, and they will be taking, if you have a big block amount and block chance, you will be taking a lot less damage by opponents that, not because they have the crit, which Blue Beetle does some things that they messes with crit directly, but because they are characters that are dealing physical damage, and block amount stops a physical damage but doesn't stop superpower damage. Kind of makes some sense after hearing block and the physical, but I think they should specify it better here to write here that it has to do with superpower damage. Haven't tested that extremely. I've saw it somewhere written and I tested against an attack with first Nightwing and Ocean Master against the physical team, and then against the superpower team, and it felt like superpower were not that his ability here wasn't really doing stopping the opponents doing a lot of damage on Nightwing. That they were getting hit higher against like a burn team with was Zatanna and Starfire that deals superpower damage. So moving on with the skills, and again, you may have a strong like a block team also has a big damage dealer like Constantine that can still kill an opponent team that is superpower team. They still have the healing here and the extra attack. It's not that superpower damage just because the superpower would destroy them, but and maybe having a superpower damage in Elite Arena, a team like that, might make it likely if you go against a block, if you build them correctly, to win, but then they will get demolished by a crit team because they don't have anything to stop it. We'll see. This video is not about that. I'm just putting out some ideas so that you may get to test yourself. Moving on to heal crit and heal bonus, which are the last stats. So we are having heal crit, which also applies to shields, and this doesn't say that it applies to shield, so I'm not 100% sure. I think it applies to shields, the heal bonus, but heal crit basically has a base chance of, let's put a card that has some heal crit on the kit, on there, yeah. So he has a 7% heal crit by his emblem. So every time he does a healing, so his ultimate is doing healing, his advanced attack is healing, it goes through an interaction similar than crit, that normal crit, that and has the same extra multiplier as a base. So the extra, when he heals, there is a 7% chance that the healing would be 50% stronger. My understanding is, because we haven't really tested heal bonus, is that heal bonus works in every situation. So let me see, what does it say? Additional percentage bonus effect dealt when the card casts a heal. Almost like damage amplification on heals. That's my understanding of it. Because it doesn't say heal crit extra bonus or whatever, it says heal bonus, like damage amplification. So always when a Kid Flash heals, it will be 5% more effective. But when he also when he heals, he has a 7% chance of it being 50% stronger. So it would be like basically 55% stronger. Rather, yeah, but it's a 7% chance of doing that. Many times it's better to put, like for example, Kid Flash, usually the way he plays out is that he does big single target heals. So his ultimate does big single target heal, and this is a big single target heal. So usually he heals them fully up. Also his passive helps with that if they have a low percentage of HP, the healing is stronger. So it says heal bonus 70% times the 5 that he has. It's a massive extra healing to one person. So usually when he heals people, it heals them fully. So you don't really need heal crit, that it would be healing them for 50% more. There are some situations when you're about to die in the late in a campaign, let's say, where the opponents are dealing a lot of damage, that he may fully heal someone that he otherwise wouldn't. But normally, usually, if you have him some investment in Kid Flash, he's basically fully healing everyone. And it makes more sense to have his advanced attack going off more often, or even getting a bit more ability energy to use your ultimates a bit often, so you can use a big ultimate. So with speed, you will be, and the ultimate you can use also on other cards and just deal damage and kill the opponents. But instead of, if you had like 4 heal pieces, heal crit like on him, it would be giving him plus 15% heal crit, plus 7 that he has, so it's 22% heal crit. So every healing, it would have a 22% chance of healing for 50% more. With speed, there are some situations where you lap the opponents and you heal someone that would otherwise die on your team, and all his heals are based on attack. So when you put like 3% attack on him, every healing of Kid Flash, let's say, is healing for 3% more always. Not there is a 20, or with only 2 piece, it would be like a 5%. So his healing are always 3% stronger, instead of having a 5% chance that they would be 50% stronger. Having speed on him would allow him to heal more people a bit quicker. It's a bit more of a problem like that he doesn't get to heal everyone, rather that his heals are individually small. That's how he plays out. So that's why usually people aren't doing heal crit on almost almost no character has for endgame players has heal crit on them. There are some exceptions to some degree. Like, this is not late game, but okay. She heals everyone for 4 times. There are many instances where the heal crit can trigger, and when you are in the early game, there are some situations where you have an advantage of an abundance of heal crit gear that you don't have anywhere to put into, and you would be having like attack, because heal is based on attack. You would be having a blue gear for attack and a purple gear for healing bonus. So okay, she will be gaining more stats by having the heal bonus, because the purple gear instead of the blue ones. Plus, okay, like 15% chance of having a bigger heal. I don't think she has a base. No. But it's to 5 people times 3 times, so there's 15 instances where this might happen every time she uses her ultimate. It's not one like Kid Flash. Hope this makes some sense. Also, a character like Bane is getting from his emblem, can get a massive stat of a heal crit. So 19.4 plus 15 that he can gain from a... If he had 4 pieces of a heal crit chance gear, it goes to like 34.2% or whatever, and he... Let me see. He definitely has multiple instances of healing. So when he takes damage, it might heal. Uh, Healing is a see if there's extra healing bonus. In any case, it's a bit of a number, okay, that it makes some sense because, like crit, that you already have a crit chance, you can take advantage because you have an extra heal crit. I haven't tested that. Doesn't make sense if you have his emblem at level 10. Only 5.3% to really test that. But you may have a gear that you like here. That's attack bonus that you wouldn't use on a different character. You wouldn't have like a attack gear available on him, so I might try that on Bane if I ever invest into him. Some people in the late game are saying like Bane is the only character worth it to put heal crit on. There's definitely some interactions from his kit that I haven't like really tested too extensively because he definitely heals many times, so might work better for him. Let's go for heal crit. Pandora is also a character that I kinda like with heal crit because for once she hits 6 times 2% times 2 times, so she hits 8 times when she does a healing, and she gets 7% heal crit from her emblem, can be higher, can be 11.9, but she also gains when she loses 10 times 10% of her HP, so she needs to be healing from somewhere else, but when she loses a lot of HP and still alive, then it gives her 50% heal crit chance. So you have a 50% and you have so a 57% or 61.9. Okay, might make some sense to throw, and you're hitting 8 times. I think then it might make sense to get it closer to 100 because the 50% might be more impactful than the 3% always. And her heals are healing individual characters of small heals rather than Kid Flash that heals one person for a massive heal. So it might make more sense a bit with Pandora, especially if you have her emblem maxed out, because for once it will give her a bit more heal crit here. For second, it gives her life steal, so you can really for once when you use her ultimate, she will be healing herself with the extra life steal that she gains, so she will be using that, like losing 10 times 10% of her HP. This will activate quicker, so I can see that like heal seal crit, but usually in most situations you kinda want to have like his advanced attack going off faster, or even Pandora's advanced attack, which it's very strong and can really protect someone, and attack for them to be stronger always, rather than having a small chance of the heals being 50% stronger. As for the heal bonus stat, I see this is the stat 5% extra healing that every healer has in the game, but Lex, for example, doesn't have it. This clearly states heal shields, so this applies, the heal crit applies to shields. You can throw it in a character that does shield as a stat and make a bit of a sense as a gear set. I see this doesn't specify a extra shield that gives you an additional bonus when you heal a character, so I wouldn't really put a heal bonus stat on someone like Lex because it's probably not applying with shields, but maybe it makes some sense to put it more sense than attack bonus to put it in a healer as a last stat. I don't know exactly what the difference is. I need to check that out because in some situations they give a bigger stat for like crit instead of attack. If you have the same piece, it might be a bit bigger, I think. Let me see. Um, that's the only example I could find. I'm not really sure, but I feel like crit for every epic tier that you are increasing is increasing by 1%. But I see attack bonus for this being maxed out at one lower is only 4%. So if attack bonus is increasing by 1% like crit is, it would be 5% in the same piece. I'm not 100% sure, but that's what I mean, that maybe like having a piece like this that gives you also heal crit might give you a bigger chance heal crit, not heal crit, extra heal bonus rather than attack bonus. That would make a difference if that's the case. But even if it, let's say it's the same, it's 4% heal bonus and 4% attack bonus. Probably would make more sense to have attack on a character. I mean, they all the heals are based on attack, so even the recuperates that he puts out are based on their attack. So at least their basic would be doing a bit more damage rather than having only the healing be 4% stronger. Also, you can move this piece around to different characters. But if this was like 7%, then maybe it's a different story. You need to check that somewhere. Like maybe someone, like your elite arena has a piece like this fully upgraded. I haven't. I checked like a few people and quickly, and no one had that. But if it gives like 7% for the same piece heal bonus, then it might make some sense. Otherwise, I haven't really used heal bonus anywhere. I will avoid doing that on legs because it only says heal here, while here it says crits as well. The way I read it, it's a 5% extra stat that healers are gaining in their kits already. Every heal will be 5% stronger. Okay, you could also throw that in the heal individual heals and would make exactly the same thing. I don't think it's something to mess around too much with. More so heal crit, because heal crit is a gear set that many people would be putting on their healers, while it usually doesn't make sense to do that.